I was looking at letterboxd reviews for the Pope's Exorcist, what I'll be talking about in this video, and one of the top ones, one of my favorite ones actually, is it just says "Film of the Year, You'll Come." I mean, I didn't come, but I guess you'll find out what I thought about it. I don't know what it's been about this year, but horror has been on a great run. From like the peaks of this year, from like Evil Dead Rise, Skinamarink, Knock at the Cabin, all this stuff. And we also had some fun like in the middle ones. Honestly, I would consider Cocaine Bear a horror movie at this point. I'd throw Renfield in there as well. And we had massive lows like the Winnie the Pooh horror movie, which I did watch. It's not worth doing a video on. That's how bad it is. But yeah, horror has been on a massive hot streak this year, and it's been pretty fantastic. And now I guess we're gonna add to the list of somehow good horror movies with The Pope's Exorcist. Yeah, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I had a fun time with this. I'm legitimately surprised that this isn't like a massive disaster because the trailers they put out for this were awful and horrible. And it had to have been some of the worst trailers I've seen in a long time. I don't know how they did it. They pulled it off in this one. So apparently, the subject of this movie is Father Gabriele Amorth. He's a real guy. He's a real priest. He has done a lot of. He wrote a lot of books about his exorcisms and all of that, and I find it to be pretty interesting. To my knowledge, it doesn't seem like this movie is based on anything he's done. They just kind of pulled the guy out and got his permission, I presume. I don't know. And they're using his name in what's supposed to be a jumpstart to a horror franchise somehow. And we have Russell Crowe playing Father Amorth. And just what? Okay, I'll get to Russell Crowe in this later on, but I should say that there's a lot of exorcism movies out there. If you've seen one of them, most likely The Exorcist, you've seen them all. There's not really a lot you can do to expand upon it, and just there's nothing here you haven't seen before in The Pope's Exorcist. Honestly, you can just say what the plot of this is without even me telling you. I'm going to tell you anyway. This family moves in to a new house. Their kid gets possessed, and the Pope sends Italian Russell Crowe to save him, essentially. It becomes this plot of the demon actually wanting Italian Russell Crowe there because, like, for a specific reason, and it's specifically asking for Gabriele Amorth. And it's a really interesting, and it has no right to be as interesting as it is. Okay, we gotta talk about Russell Crowe now, because Gabriele Amorth is not your grandfather's priest. He drinks. He rides a Vespa everywhere. And what's it? A very funny image. And he also has this greeting he does every now and then, where he would do like a little hand gesture and just say cuckoo, and it makes no sense, but it kind of adds a lot of personality and like charisma to the guy, and he's a funny guy to follow. Alex Essoe is also in this. You've seen her a couple other things. I mainly know her for being in Doctor Sleep, and she plays the mother of the kid that gets possessed. And she also does a pretty good job as well. What I did not know who was in this, though, was Ralph Ineson. He voices the demon in this, and his big, booming, very deep voice really just it sent chills down my spine. It was a great casting pick. However, I gotta tamper with your expectations just a little bit because as you can tell, I'm very positive on this movie. What I have to tell you is though, this isn't a horror movie. This is it eventually becomes more of an action thriller because it's not really a scary movie. But as the exorcism is happening, because exorcisms happen in a movie called The Pope's Exorcist, and it just turns into something very Sam Raimi inspired, and I did not expect it to take that turn at all, but it really worked for this. And that's thanks to the director Julius Avery, which I didn't know the name, so I decided to look up what else he did after this was done. He made that Nazi zombie movie Overlord a couple years ago. And I really loved that. That had a really good sense of style, and I think this transitions well over it, and it might as well be the best aspect of it because there are some there's some inventive shots, like the presentation of the demon's powers is actually really cool in it. There are visual effects that come into play, and the smaller stuff does work pretty well, but once we get to bigger things, which I'm not going to spoil, once we get to bigger things here, it's just, it doesn't look that great because I don't think this had a massive budget at all, but it honestly fit for what the movie was going for. And I said earlier that this sets up a franchise, because I should already say, this is already confirmed to be having a sequel. It would be getting written right now, but the writer's strike is happening, and that's not really on the cards right now. But it sets up for a sequel. That sequel is happening. And honestly, I'm all for this. I'm all for this weird action horror franchise that's a really goofy at some points. That's sort of adjacent to Evil Dead, or at least the first three Evil Dead films. If we can have a horror franchise that kind of fits into that area, and if they end up being good, no less, why not? So yeah, the Pope's Exorcist. Color me surprised. This is probably the biggest shock of the year for me because I thought this was gonna be dog shit. Like fully, honestly, I thought it was gonna be. But I had a pretty great time with it, and I wouldn't mind seeing silly Russell Crowe with a bad Italian accent again. Bring it on. I'll give The Pope's Exorcist a 7 out of 10. There are many things that are limiting it back from a couple of different aspects, but I still think this is a pretty fun movie, and if you go out with the notion of, oh, this isn't a horror movie, think of it like a campy one that's a little goofy sometimes, go for it. Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. All right, those are my thoughts on The Pope's Exorcist. My question for you is, what is your favorite exorcism movie outside of The Exorcist? That's taking the easy way out if you say it. So, something that's not The Exorcist, what's your favorite exorcism movie? Comment below what you think, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. See ya.